This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for Yaks with Ken. Now, for those of you who are watching on Zoom, this is what real technology is all about. Sometimes cameras don't work, sometimes they do. So you can listen to us yak, or you can go to the audio stream and listen to us yak. But today, Ken, you have a theme that I think people are going to enjoy just listening to. So tell us what we're going to yak about today.
Well, today I want to talk about the aftermath. And I think that's what we're all living in. And we're living in a multi-leveled period of aftermath. But I like to give people a visual so they can understand what it is. Put yourself at the shore by the ocean. A little tough for you out in the Midwest to do that, but for those of us who live on the coast, it's a daily event. And just figure the tide is going out or the tide is coming in, either way. After the tide goes out, what happens is the waves start to recede. They don't come in as far. There's a rhythm to them. They kind of go to the same level and then they move back. They go a little bit less. You start to see more sand, less water. And then ever so often, you'll get a rush of one bigger wave will come in. And then that wave goes away and you're back to the little ripples again. And then another wave comes, and this one comes in even closer. And before you know it, you can't tell which way it's going to happen. It looks like it's going out, but it's coming in at the same time. And that's really what we're doing now. If you look at it in terms of a storm, what's the aftermath of a storm?
A lot of debris.
A lot of destruction, but it's calm. You're in a period of calm where you're looking around and you're assessing what the hell has just happened.
Sure.
Look at it in terms of social and psychological aftermath. You can describe it basically as a period of flux, disorganization, and confusion. There are so many things going on at the same time. Think in terms of what happens to a group after an aftermath. They will break into factions. There are those that want to look back at what was and see if they can rebuild what was. There are those that are going to look at the pieces of what is and see what they can do about it. There'll be others that want to move ahead into the new and rebuild and go on. And these factions all exist at the same time. You have simple explanations, optimists and pessimists. Those who will look to see the bright side and fix and do it, and others who say it can't be fixed, it's over, life will never be the same. Look at another type of example of what happens in an aftermath is a divorce. Here's one life you have, and now all of a sudden there's this struggle, and there's a power play to see who wins or who loses. And once it's over, innocent people, ones who weren't involved in it, are left to pick up the pieces.
Right.
And I think that's what's going on with us now. We're in a state of political confusion because we've been divided. There are basically four camps as I see it. There are those that basically don't want to accept the results of what happened. There are those who reluctantly do, but they feel cheated. There are those who accept what's going on without cheering. It's just a mess. And then there are those that welcome it. So we have four different psychological positions in terms of what's going to happen. Now, you find yourself most likely in one of those groups.
Right.
The overlay on top of all of this is we're living in a pandemic. Look at the chaos, the fear, the psychological trauma, the anxiety, the depression. As a therapist, it's a fertile ground for what's going on with people to take a look at. Look at what isolation does with people.
Right.
You know, it's a form of jail. You're now in a confined space, and you have to learn how to live in a confined space. What if you traveled every day and you were a person that was internationally around the world, going to meetings and eating different kinds of foods all the time and having, you know, um, a world at your feet. And now you find yourself at home day and night and day and night. The COVID aftermath has had a spike in depression, suicides, boredom, anxiety, weight gain, health issues. People don't exercise as much. They're bored. They eat more. They don't exercise like they used to. So if you look at it, we have internal battles going on with if you've coped well with your isolation or you haven't. And then you, on top of that, identify how you feel out in the world. The world is depressed. The world, we're isolated. The world is sick. The world is full of fear. We can't go out. Your neighbor now is your enemy. You go outside of someone who used to be your friend and you hugged them when you saw them. Now you can't do that. And what if you see your friend one day and he doesn't or she doesn't have a mask on and she wants to hug you? What's your belief system? Are they a friend? Are they an ally? Are they someone just like you? Or are they now the enemy? Look at how unsure we are of everyday things.
Right.
You get a package, it comes to your door. Can you touch it? Can you open it? Are you afraid of it? What about you go to the supermarket? Some people are afraid to go to the supermarket. They don't want to touch any of the food. They're afraid it's contaminated with somebody coughed on it, somebody sneezed on it. If you rode a bus to go to work, and now the boss says, "Well, we're going to social distance at work, but you got to get here," and you have to either get on the bus or get on a train, or I mean, there are so many different processes going on at the same time that I think everybody has one of the conditions I talked about, one or more.
Oh, I'm sure.
So the idea is, what do we do? How do we get through a period of aftermath? The people that have a good, what's called in my field, a gestalt, you have a good field view, you can see perspective, you have a wide angle lens for what's going on in your life, a wide angle view of time. There are others that just say, oh, this is just a blip in time. You know, we'll talk about this. Oh, remember back in 2020 when we had the pandemic, you know, and remember how it was back then, and all the books that are going to be written about what people learned or how people's lives changed because of the pandemic. So those who have a wider view and can see this is just like anything else, nothing lasts forever. Change is coming. They will do better. Those who only can see tomorrow or just today are going to suffer more because they don't have a plan. And I think to get through any of this, you have to have a plan. It's
Well,
called coping strategies.
as I hear you talking about these things, um, I've been watching a lot of Netflix and a lot of history on Netflix. And some of the things that we don't realize that even we've been going through over the last year and then a year plus with the administration, this is not new to history. I mean, there was a pandemic back around 1917 with the Spanish flu. Um, People did wear face coverings, maybe not to the extent we do today, but they did. They stayed at home. They were terrified of this flu that was killing, you know, thousands and thousands of people. Um, then you think about the Great Depression, and then you think about World War II. There's always been something that has, you know, created a fear and a questioning on what's going to happen tomorrow. But we've gotten through it.
We used to be able to scare people showing them a Japanese movie. There was a Japanese movie about the end of the world, and everybody in it was running around with a mask on because there was this invisible bug in the air that if you breathed it, you died. So everybody had to cover up, and to one degree or another, they had the cameras when nobody was on the streets. And I remember when I came home from Mexico this year, the very first week, I took my car and drove into Manhattan, and it looked like that movie because I parked on 8th Street and 5th Avenue in front of the Washington Arch,
Ah,
and I looked up 5th Avenue, and I could not see a car.
yeah.
There was nothing. Nobody was walking. I mean, it really was like, oh my God. It was so chilling. This a city with just buildings and no cabs and no life and no people on the streets. And where are they? Where is? I mean, I kept saying, where is everybody? Where is everybody? So the coping strategies in terms of where is everybody? Well, they're on Zoom when they can see one another. They're on Skype. They're on their cell phone. They're there. And I think people who are missing other people, that's what you have to do. I mean,
Absolutely.
you can't hug them, but you can see them and you can talk to them. And I think a group one, although you got this, multi faces on your screen, it still works. It's better than not being able to see them.
Oh, absolutely. And for some people, come Thanksgiving, it'd probably be the best way to get together with their family because when somebody starts to annoy them, they can just click right off or go into the other room and ignore that Zoom is
Yeah.
going on. Um,
Well, you can play past the peas,
yeah,
So one person hands it through the camera, and the other guy grabs it, passes it around. you know.
but those are the coping skills that we can use. I heard somebody the other day saying that they were so upset because they usually had their whole family and many extended people. They have about 60 people on Thanksgiving. And I said, well, what is one good thing that you can say about not having all 60 people over? And, the first thing he said was, well, I don't have to have a service come in and clean my house before and after. Okay. And as we start talking about the positives, he realized he doesn't even like throwing this event
Mm,
every year. And so maybe COVID has given him the excuse now that he doesn't have to be,
yeah,
the one to put this all together. Be thankful for something smaller, something more intimate if that be your
yeah,
choice.
absolutely. And we're talking now, going through the coping mechanisms to deal with. Let's think number two on the list is boredom. you have your little routine. You've read your paper for the day. You've watched the news. You watched your favorite program. You did 6 push-ups. You ate lunch, and now you got 5 hours. And what are you going to do next? How do you fill your time? You go to sleep. You start drinking, taking pills. What do you do? Uh, People with their anxiety. Anxiety is trapped energy inside. Psychologically, it needs a release. That's why there's so many gyms around. People that want to get in shape and do that. Well, what they're doing is they're burning up energy at a gym, and everybody feels better after you come. You're tired, but you feel better after you come out from a gym. So I would think that people would need to plan a healthy schedule with diverse and varied activities. Uh, I like the inner and outer, inner things like meditation, yoga, uh, breathing, calm, that kind of soul searching stuff. And then the outside, which is get it out, create. Many ways to do that.
Well,
Talking,
and I've seen a lot of people who didn't realize they had certain talents now being um, mesmerized by some of the things that they're capable of doing,
right,
whether it be photography, and I have a friend who has always been interested in photography. Now he combines his exercise, walking, with photography and appreciating nature,
absolutely.
you
I
know?
mean, for those of us that are living in states where there's space around or that you can go outside safely with a mask and not run into a crowd,
Right.
you bring your camera along with you. You bring your cell phone along with you. You take a picture of every dog in the neighborhood, and you make a collage. So, I mean, the idea here is start a project. If you have a goal, you can have a weight goal, you can have an exercise goal, a social availability goal. You can make yourself available for 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. Create your own group, have an issue that you want to discuss and get a group going about that issue. And then change the issue during the day for the evening. Talk about what you've seen in Netflix or what you saw on Amazon. Have a movie group, where you can't go to the theater anymore and talk to everybody in the lobby. You have to make your own lobby. So I'm talking about when you're in your house or in your apartment, there are things that you can do right there in terms of arts and crafts and music, even language. Go to school, take an online course, start learning a new language, start speaking to other people. Even in a beginner's level, if you can get into an online language group, who knows how far you could go with it. Or maybe you have an online art class where you start to paint for the first time, or you put your photography together. Uh, for me, I started making jewelry for the first time in my life.
I
I,
love
make-
it.
I make these bracelets. I went out, I found the Michaels. I went and got all kinds of crafts and beads and little stuff and little stringy things that you stretch and you tie them up. And then I found a little project with little pieces of wood and squares, and you can build a house. Just doing little stuff that, I've been building a motorcycle.
A
I mean,
motorcycle?
miniature,
Wow.
mo-
Okay.
miniature motorcycle. It's a kit, and it's intricate, and you got to put 6 little pieces together to make a corner, and then you put it on. But it's fun, and it takes time, and it keeps your mind going. I've downloaded 60 different types of puzzle solving, word
Right.
vocabulary increasing games, stuff like that. So they're challenging and they're educational at the same time. So I think if your world is smaller here in your room, you have to make it larger. You have to look at what you're not doing and start doing it. I mean, that's an old therapist talking, you know. I'm afraid of doing this. Well, you know, like any youngman said, get over it. You know.
Well, and there's so many things. One of the things that I started a couple of years ago, but I'm more into it now, um, being more isolated at home. My sister-in-law, um, she has a composting area in the back of their yard. I can't put one here because I live in a condo, and my neighbors would not appreciate it. But I've learned what items I can actually put into a jar, instead of putting it down the garbage disposal or throwing it away. And I do my own composting.
Nice.
And I go outside, and when I spread it out in my bushes, I have to tell you, um, I feel a sense of gratitude, you know, because I'm giving back to the earth. And it's little things like that that can change how we feel about things. And when I mentioned it to my sister-in-law, who, is just so excited to hear that somebody, you know, took what she does and found a way to do it themselves, we now talk about it. So what'd you
Nice.
put in your composting pile today?
Nice. Excellent. And I mean, for those of us who, you know, have really learned to type,
Yeah.
because I mean, everybody has learned how to type now with all of this stuff. Typing is writing.
Yep.
And, you know, I've written 2 books, and now I'm knocking around some ideas and saying, well, looks like we're going to be a couple more months at least before we can spread out. So, you know, took me 3 months to write the last one. Maybe this one I can knock out in a shorter amount of time because there's no distractions at all if I want to write. And I think that's a good idea for a lot of people.
Sure.
Write to your friends, write online, use messages, you know, use email, talk to people, reach out. So many people have gone back rather than stay isolated. They've gone back to their high school class, they've gone back to their college class, they've been looking up people. Oh, wonder whatever happened to him. And then they try to track them down just to connect. I've spoken to, I think, 10 of my high school friends who are now in their late 70s. I found them in North Carolina, I found them in Florida, I found them in California, and it's really been fun to connect to them. You know, and you know, those are people who, you know, you shared a major portion of your childhood with,
Right.
and there's something about validation that people who know you from when you were a kid, there is just some kind of special connection. Rather than even making a new friend, it's making an old one.
Well, that helped me get through um, the pre-election time. I reconnected with 2 friends who I've known since, or they've known me since I was an infant. I'm a little bit younger than them. So they were my first friends. And we did a Zoom call one day. And interestingly enough, we found out that one of the women on the phone is very much a Trump supporter. Um, my other girlfriend, she was a Biden supporter, but her husband's a Trump supporter. And there
Mhm.
was
There's
me.
a marriage problem.
Actually, they get along very well. They just don't discuss politics. Um, and then there's my husband and I, and we were both, Biden supporters. But it was interesting when we got together on this Zoom call. Um, we went back to our early days and sort of caught ourselves up to today. But even our differences between religion and politics, it didn't matter. We were 3 little girls still playing together, still loving each other. And, that makes me realize that there's a lot of good in this world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, these kinds of days bring out the best and the worst of us. There are people that are scammers and that are trying to get over on, they take advantage. The guy who will sell you a $7 gallon of milk,
Right, right,
because there's a shortage, turns out to lose his customers rather than the guy who, shares it with everybody. Says, listen, if everybody took a quart instead of everybody taking a gallon, we'd
right,
all get through. And you see in people the good-hearted kind. Look at the amount of people like firemen who run into the fire rather than run away from it. The first responders, the people on the line, those that still working hospitals, people that working healthcare centers, crisis units, cops, firemen, EMTs, people who are out there. They become the best of us because they put others ahead of themselves at
right,
times. They are the soldiers of today, and there's a new respect. I think you see the amount of banners we had during the first wave in October, in April and May, where I live, which is in a high rise. At 7 o'clock every night, people opened up their windows and were banging their pots and pans, saluting the workers, the healthcare, the frontliners. And it was a community. You looked out your window and you saw the other high rise, and there's other
right,
people on their balcony, and they're doing, and it was a connection. You could walk by that guy down on the street, and you wouldn't know that that's the same guy, but you have a sense, hey, we are connected. We're all going through this thing together. There's a community feeling. I think religion is good for that. People go to their shul, they go to their church, they go to their mosque. They see others that are doing the same thing. They can share and talk. Look at the amount of people now that are working in food banks and kitchens,
right.
feeding people that need it. It's just a way in which you try to participate. You try to do something beyond just doing something for yourself. And I think that psychologically we are in such need as a country of normalcy from what we've just gone through with this man, where every day it's been anti this guy, anti that guy, uh, lying, blaming, name calling, on and on. It just drones the hell out of you. So I think we really need a calming period. The aftermath after the storm, where it gets calm and you dig out slowly but surely, I think that's exactly where we are now.
Right.
There are some people that can't wait for the new day to get back to normal again, where president acts like a president and the country acts like a country that gives a damn, and you start to respect the planet and the environment again, and you start to make social connections to other countries again, where it's not this competition of America first or second or third. It's we're all in this together. Al Gore said it 20 years ago. If we don't do it together, we're not going to do it.
Right. Absolutely.
We're not going to be here to do it because the planet is just going to eat us up.
But that's something that many of us grew up learning in our families. And that's why I find it sometimes so strange that at least our generation sort of, went away from some of those teachings. I don't know if it was the 60s, and freedom and free love and trying to do everybody's thing their way. But I'm very disappointed in a lot of people that I grew up with who became those cutthroat, me first people, because that's not how I was brought up and that's not the way I live my life.
Right.
What can I do for you? Because if I can do for you, boy, that's going to make me feel good. And if I feel good, then, that's going to resonate.
Yeah.
Um, and I,
Those post hippies raised the me generation,
yep,
the, the me generation that just said, I don't care about the environment. I don't care about others. I'm going to get my MBA. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to get my big house. I'm going to drive a Beamer, and there was this isolation of caring.
yes,
There was a whole gap of people who fell because they didn't get into Wharton. They didn't get into Columbia. They just stayed where they were, and nobody was there socially to help them anymore. There wasn't this community sense. You see now with the young people, I think for the first time, there's a vibrancy in the young community. They care again. You know, they came out, they voted. This is the first generation in a long time that's had energy in the polling that took care of the country, took care of its problems, identified it, volunteered, spent hours. There's a guy on a balcony a couple blocks. I do my afternoon walk. He's he's still got his Bernie sign up. He's a young guy. And he went through the whole thing. He went through the whole election. He wasn't pro-Trump, anti-Trump, pro-Biden, He was for Bernie. And you could just see this young guy. And I laugh and I wave to him every day now. You hold out there, guy. You got some passion. He cares. He found a guy who, in his world, was going to make education free and was going to take care of all of us and blah blah blah. And I like that. I respected that. I thought that was a passionate guy.
well, and I think staying, connected with our passions makes us better people. But at the same time, it's also allowing ourselves to hear what's going on around us, to see the debris that may be caused by wrong decisions, and saying, okay, like you said before, how can I take this and make it better? And so when the tide goes out and there's debris on the shore, do we just leave it there and let it just collect and rot? Or do we pick it up and say, you know, we can do something good with this?
Yeah,
And that's what I think people are starting to say now.
yeah.
And they're listening to each other, they're having conversations.
Well, I'm starting to see around here where I live, there's almost 100% compliance outside. I don't see people not wearing masks anymore. We got a sense of calm maybe 2, 3 months ago where he said, well, New Jersey wasn't getting a lot of new cases. And everybody was starting to take their mask off and walk around, and you weren't afraid of anybody anymore. And, it seemed to be that we had gotten to the place of trust. And now, boom, it's back. And now where everybody outside is afraid again. But you see that there's not resistance to it. Now, a lot around where I live, it's not a political issue around here. It's a health issue. You go in New York, go in New York City, everybody's got a mask on. Everybody, all the time. You don't see people taking it off, and if they do, they have a problem. They're a street person, or they're homeless, or they're nutty. And they we don't have the Midwest's battle that it's my right to not wear a mask. That that doesn't exist around here. There's too many people.
Well, and when I hear that comment about, it's my right not to wear a mask, my comment back is, it's your right also to get your driver's license when you're 16 in the state of Ohio. But just because you have your driver's license doesn't mean you can just get in anybody's car and drive it. It has to be your car or your parents' car. There's a
It
speed
has to be
limit.
registered and
Yeah,
insured. It
yeah.
has to, you know.
There's speed limits, there's stoplights, and you observe those. And those things save lives.
Yeah.
Okay. So why not? I mean, why are you refusing to wear a mask that saves lives? You know,
Well, my view is that we all follow the leader. And if the leader is a narcissist, it's all about me, how it affects me. I don't have to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. No sense of, in the Jewish community anyway, it's others. That's your goal. You're part of others. The Asians do it much better. Asians, even without a pandemic, when they're sick and they have a cold, they wear a mask. And I first used to look at them and I said, why are they afraid of getting anything? And I was wrong, because they wasn't afraid of getting anything. Didn't want to give anything.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so there's the answer to that guy who says it's my right, but you're going to give it to me. And that's not your right. You can't make me sick. You want to be sick, stay home and get sick and don't wear your mask. But you can't go outside. You're not just getting it, you're giving it. And it's the whole psychological profile of Trump, who doesn't see others. It's only all about him. And so the people who have imbalanced psyches are that appeals to them. He's talking about me. Yeah, right. I'm being pushed around my whole life. Everybody's talking to me. Yeah, I don't have any kind of money. I don't have any kind of life. Yeah, that's right. I don't have to. And if he doesn't do it, I don't do it either. You notice with those people, they're angry.
Right.
They're angry. You see pictures. What are they doing? They're yelling and screaming. They're red faced. They're near violent, angry people. Why? I mean, you could reach out to somebody in need who doesn't have, and not flame them up, and say, we're going to help. What do you need? You need job training? You need more food? You need what do you need? We'll devise social programs to help you out of your miserable space. Or we could just say, vote for me, send me money.
Which is happening right now as well. So I have a question for you as a therapist, okay? And I know that you have not sat across the table from Donald Trump as a therapist, but as a therapist, what do you think is going to happen after he leaves the White House? Do you think that he's still going to believe that he's the president of the United States, or he's the king, or do you think he's just going to disappear?
Oh, not going to disappear.
Darn. Okay.
Not a chance in hell. Um, his disease is he needs praise and adulation. He needs to be the center of things. I think politically, his life is over as a politician. I don't think in 2024 they will come back to him. He will be 78 years old. He will be still obese, if not sick, and he will have had legal problems from the next 4 years. So, politically, he may not run. He may keep his hat in the political arena because he loves rallies and he'll back other people. My view is that he won't go away. He'll try to get, you know, he's convinced. He's got 74 million people who like him. So he will fleece them forever. I think you'll see the Donald Trump Entertainment Network, Donald Trump News and Entertainment Network, starring him and all the flunkies that he has in the media, the people that have been faithful to him. One thing he does is he rewards those who have been loyal to him until he doesn't need them anymore, or
Right.
they look bad, or they write a book about him. But I think you'll see him on a version of what was. I think they've left Fox now. I think they're going to split with Fox because Fox, had the audacity to call for Arizona. But I think you'll see a Trump network where he will sponsor different kinds of shows, and it'll be the two worlds of news, just like it is now. The people who watch CNN and CNBC and read the New York Times aren't watching Newsmax and aren't watching Fox. So you're having two streams of information. One a little bit more paranoid and right-wing conspiracy theories, the other a little more progressive to the left side social programs. But what we need is neither. What we need is the vast middle to expand and put the extremes. The extremes are causing the news today. And what we really need is the middle, that 35 to 75% of us, to have the main body of where we get our information. And it's not red or blue, it's information. There are things called facts and truth that we'll get back to. No one ever really said the White House was the cause of falsity in the country. It usually stood above. The president had a standard.
Right.
And the bar has been so reduced. Look what's happened to us in terms of legislature and judicial. They've tied up everything by politics.
Right.
That's going to take a long time to unravel. And if McConnell stays in charge, you're going to have the same thing as you had with Obama. You have a more liberal president, but you have a Congress that's going to say no, 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 no. It's stalemate. So it's not going to get better quickly with Biden. I think it'll get better in terms of the things he can control, like environment, make that and health, make that a non-political issue. Of course, it's always about money, but I don't think we'll get better quickly, but I think we're on the road where it's going to feel a little bit more normal. Trump will be there, but he won't be on the front page every day.
Well, I think we have to look at it like going on a diet. If you go on a diet and you starve yourself and take all these potents that clean you out, yes, you lose weight very quickly, but then you gain it back. But if we do this slowly, and if you do a diet slowly, it becomes second nature to us.
Right.
And I think if we can, again, be open and talk to each other without the arguments, there's no reason I have to prove that I'm right and you're wrong, or sit there and feel stupid because I don't agree with you. It's time that we take off our armor and just become friends again.
What's really sad is the unsaid truth of Putin has won. Putin used Trump to divide the country, and that's been the formula in Russia forever.
Right.
Divide and conquer. You split your allies. You get the allies to fight against themselves, have them fight themselves, and then you come in and take over. Every single Russian or country that they have done, they have started a political party within that country that was against that country internally and created a division. Look at the media of what it has done to us. I mean, the two camps can't even talk to each other anymore.
Right.
And that's going to continue because he will represent all those people that now feel that their rightful leadership was stolen from them. I mean, it is so immoral for that man to accuse without facts of and every courtroom that he's gone, he's lost. But he continues to do it because that's what they like to hear. And that's how he gets his power. He can be the victim. Poor Donald. give me money. The rich guy who doesn't need anybody's money, if you listen to his message, is send me money. Sad.
It is. Well,
So we're going to
hopefully,
have to deal with that element in society for a long time. And after him, there'll be others that'll pick up that banner.
well, all I can do is hope that most of us will look at the aftermath and we will come together to rebuild, just like those who get together and join Habitat for Humanity and work side by side, using their skills to build a home for somebody who's in need. So it's time for us to come together, and maybe this Thanksgiving we can make that pledge to ourselves that
Right.
it's about all of us, not just us individually.
What I like what I see in Mexico when I live in Mexico is that the community builds everybody's house. The same people built this guy's house, built that guy's house, helped this guy's storm drain when it overflowed. This guy's mule ran away. They went and got it. You know, uh, this guy needs windows, and so the window maker makes the house. But then he also needed plumbing, so they come to it. It's a community of caring and helping, and the same people show up doing different tasks each time. And you really feel if you want to see a community, that's a community. That's how it operates. When they have a death, the whole town walks the street. When they have a communion, the whole town walks the street. And we need that. That's what we started with, and I hopefully we can get back and get going with that. So for all of us shut-ins and all those people, think of a way in which you can help. Think of a way that you can do something good with your time and with your effort and with your energy.
Sounds wonderful. And we'll be back again in 2 weeks. And hopefully we can have a video of Ken. We can actually see what he looks like. Have a
Okay.
great day,
All right.
everybody.
All right. Thanks, Karen. Bye now.
Bye-bye.